The name of that beautiful song is called "By the Side of the Road," and that is from a brand new album called Songs of Hope, Cy Khan's Songs of Hope in Hard Times. And it was sung by my special guest today, Katie Oates. Katie, welcome to the Friday Afternoon Music Mix.
Thank you so much for having me, Greg. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I received your single from your manager and radio promo artist and played that one before this new album, which just came out.
It
And,
did.
and that was a song that kind of got us communicating, which I really enjoyed. That was filmed for your video in front of the old Luray Mills in Gastonia, North Carolina, which I had visited almost 50 years ago when I was working down in that area. And it was very poignant to me because it brought back some memories I had totally forgotten. And then, in keeping in touch, it was just good timing for your new album coming out, and wanted to have you on the show. And I'm just thrilled that you were able to join us today. And let's talk a little bit about this new album. That is, these are not your original songs. These are by a very well-known folk artist by the name of Cy Khan, who's still proliferating with his songwriting against 76 years old.
He's amazing. Cy is actually a neighbor and a friend of mine, as well as a mentor of mine.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I mean, we literally live about 3 blocks away. It's kind of ridiculous. I went yes, I went to Swannanoa to a songwriting camp, and I was taking a class with John Vesner, who is a wonderful songwriter. His One of his songs was actually recently featured in that country music documentary. Um, and he said to me while he was flipping through screens, he said, "Well, you do know Cy Khan, don't you? He lives right there in Charlotte." And I did not at the time. So I, of course, made it a must to meet Cy. And I went up to him. I did one of those fangirl things. He was at the evening news because Cy is so supportive of other artists. It's just one of those things that's hard to appreciate about him, how supportive he is of so many people. But I went up and someone said, "Oh, that's Cy Khan sitting in the back." And so I just promptly went up back there and introduced myself, and he was as nice as he can be. That's usually when some celebrity just totally slaps you down, but Cy was so nice, and I invited him to a concert I was hosting, and we became friends. And yeah, rest is
Oh,
history.
terrific story. I didn't know that. I knew you
Yeah.
were originally from South Carolina, but I
Yes.
didn't know that you were living in North Carolina now.
Yes.
And I suspect you've given the people who purchased this album their money's worth with 14 songs on it. And I suspect that the biggest decision that you had to make, the hardest one, was which of Cy Khan's songs to sing.
Oh my goodness, that is the truth. Cy has given me his entire discography, which takes up an entire shelf on my in my music collection. And you can't get a lot of his songs on streaming, so you have to listen the old-fashioned way with CDs. And I don't
Uh-huh.
even have much of a CD player anymore, and I usually listen in my car. And I got so frustrated at one point that I went to Target and I bought like a $20 cheap little CD player. And I was sitting there on these long drives and I was like hurling CDs around, and trying to I'd have to pull over and make notes. But, oh, what's that one? I mean, I thank God I didn't wreck or anything, but it's pretty hilarious. I was sitting there with one of those, little CD players listening to the songs. Yes.
You've chosen some good ones. I've listened to your new album many times, and I just love the songs that are on it. And the um, the choice of that, I know that Cy. What I was reading about him was that he is now collaborating on songwriting with his son. Is he not?
Yes, that project actually came up maybe about 10 years ago, and we were friends at the time, and I remember him telling me about it. Gabe is a hip hop artist and has always loved this, but he said, "I'd love to collaborate." And I remember even hearing the recorded songs. Cy sent me a bunch of them, and they were going to release it, but then they ran into all kinds of rights problems with some of the beats and some of the mixes, and it just got to be a legal nightmare. And so I just had this whole CD, and so we both definitely wanted to incorporate some of those songs. And so that the last one that I think we'll play today is Beale Street is one of those from that
Oh,
collaboration. Yeah.
that's just an amazing song, and, yeah, I'll look forward to spinning that here at the end of our conversation. There was another song that I was gonna ask you if you wrote this one because I really enjoyed the video that you did for that called, "Edge of the Hurricane."
Oh, yes, I did write that, and it's
That's a beautiful song.
oh, thank you so much. It's
Yeah,
unreleased, I haven't recorded yet, and I decided to do this project with Psy first, and so that'll go on my next CD of original songs. But
please get me a copy of that because I'd like to play that for my listeners. I was just really, enjoyed that so much, and I was gonna ask you if you had it available where I could play it, but
thank
I'll
you.
I'll patiently wait
Thank you so
until it
much.
comes around. Um, there was, another thing that I wanted to ask you about, some of the songs on here that had such, tremendous meaning on it, especially as we're looking at what today, I really enjoyed the one called, "Why Are the Guns Still Firing?"
Mm. That is another of Psy's more recent songs, and it was, came out of that, awful, terrible shooting at what I always think of as Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston, when the 9 parishioners who were worshiping were gunned
Yes.
down by this white supremacist young man, who they had offered worship and prayer and prayed with. And Cy took that whole story back through this whole line of violence that we've had in our country, starting from in the Southern troops firing on the Federal troops at Fort Sumter.
I saw that,
Yeah.
yeah, Civil War.
Yes, and, Joe Jenks does a really beautiful, interpretation of this song on his, CD that came out a couple years ago, and so I thought, "Well, that's off," it was such a shame because I love that song, and then I realized, "No, I can record this in a very different way," and I decided this was in the middle of the summer during just what just felt like the depths of despair for our country with George all of us watching the video, George Floyd's last breath being
Oh, yeah.
squeezed out of him, and the violence that has been visited upon Black Americans, and the protests, the epidemic going on, and so doing this very droning, very stark recording suddenly just really came to me out of almost despair.
Your songs, you've chosen so well on here. I really like, every one of them. I had to listen to it again before our, conversation today so that I could get fresh in my mind with some of these, and, but I also wanna, mention that, you're a songwriter in your own right, and in addition to The Edge of the Hurricane, this is your 4th release, of EPs and CDs, and one in 2016, one in 2017, one is called I think it was an EP called Something True, and then a CD called Play Me.
Yes, yes. Thank you for asking about that. I appreciate it. I have actually been a singer my whole life, starting from in the crib, and I mostly sang.
That's what I
Yeah, I
read.
mostly sang it. That's a pretty funny story. But
Yeah.
I mostly sang other people's songs. I mean, I sang in, operas. I sang in church choirs. I sang in gospel choirs. Actually, I sang in musicals, and I love singing beautiful, well composed music. And I never thought that was anything I could do. That to me was like making a rabbit come out of a hat. I had no idea how people did that. And one day I decided I was going to try to write songs. I had a friend kind of challenge me, and all of a sudden, it turns out maybe it was after these years of listening to so many beautiful songwriters. Then I studied it. I went to all kinds of workshops. I got humiliated in workshops, just like oh, it's just people like, oh, what do you mean by that? That doesn't make any sense. You leave crying, you pout, you say, I'm never going to do this again. And then you come back and you admit, okay, I think might have had a point there. Why don't I work on this some more? So it's
Well,
wonderful.
I noticed that you had a quite a unique, combination, where you were doing on one album, you were doing arias and folk songs together. That's an unusual combination.
No, I know it's a good thing. Yeah, I that was my very first CD, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this exactly how I want to, and this I'm going to put songs on it from every tradition. And so, yes, there is a song by Aaron. It's three songs, I think, by Aaron Copland. It's a song cycle he did of Emily Dickinson's poems, and they are like full scale aria. I mean, they're not everybody's cup of tea because they're really modern, very very difficult songs to sing, but I love them. And so I put those on there. I put spirituals on there, folk. I was just like, yep, this is what I love. This is what I sing. So yeah.
I think that's wonderful, and you have a voice that I'm going to have to wait and hear these arias, but your voice is beautiful. And what I'd like to do now, if it's okay with you, why don't we play the title cut from your new CD? This is one that I really enjoy your voice on, and it's called "We Go On."
Yes, the name of the CD. Yes.
Why is the porch empty tonight? Why does the door stand open? How can I rest? How can I sleep now that my heart's been broken? Why doesn't time just stop dead in its tracks now that my lover is gone? We go on, we go on and on. Night tears a hole straight through your soul, ragged as dreams about him. Still day will call, moon rise and fall, night after night without him. All we can do for our loved ones who leave is pick up their load and be strong. Though our hearts are torn and bleeding, though our grief is sharp and wild, we go on, we go on and we go on, we go on and on. Why are we all left in such pain? Why must we be so burdened? Yet throughout our lives we will survive, raising our hopes and children, strengthened by friendship that sees through the night, like owls who fly before dawn. Though our hearts are torn and bleeding, though our grief is sharp and wild, we go on, we go on and on. We go on, we go on and
I really, really enjoy that song, Katie. I think that that one of all the songs on your new CD highlights your beautiful voice as much as any of them that I saw on there. And let's remind our audience that this CD is brand new. It's available at, I assume, all
It
the
is, it is.
normal
Yes.
places, iTunes, Amazon, et
Or
cetera, and the
you can
name of
do that strange thing of emailing me, and I can actually mail you one of these things called CDs, and then you can go to Target and buy a little CD player and throw around CDs in your own car. But
just
just
like
like
you
I
do.
did.
I
Yeah.
I gotcha. The new CD, it's titled "We Go On," Sycon's Songs of Hope in Hard Times, and, the videos are, on your website. Let's bring that up too, because I want people to go there and see that at www.katieoates, and it's spelled Katie, Oates, Oates.com.
Thank you so much for
And
that.
they can see your videos and a great bio on you,
Oh, oh, thanks.
which is super. Yeah, and, but,
I'm so
um
glad you liked We Go On. I had, a little bit of trepidation. I thought I'm really, I'm supposed to be making songs for that size audience will enjoy, and here I go doing all this kind of weird stuff and going just straight music theater. But in fact, Cy has written music, several beautiful music theater productions. I've only gotten to see one of them, but this that We Go On is from a musical called Some Sweet Day. And
I did not know
yes,
that.
and so that's
That's
just
great.
straight up my alley. A music theater song, and did not want to back away from even it sounding kind of like a music theater song. I thought, well, this is what it is, and I'm just going to record it like that. But yes, that song is actually it's about a union, the Southern Tenant Farmers Union, that was formed during the Depression with white and black tenant farmers. And it was this very rare collaboration. And they actually successfully did a strike to get paid more money for their cotton. And in Psy's musical, there was, of course, backlash. There were lynchings, there was violence. And in Psy's musical, there's a white tenant farmer who gets murdered. And this song is a duet between the wife of the white tenant farmer and a wife of a black tenant farmer. And they sing this song together, We Go On. Yeah. Yeah.
Terrific. Another one that was on there that I liked real well is, "I Am With You Wherever You
Mm,
Go." Yeah,
hmm.
very, very nice song.
Thank
Um,
you. Oh, one of my
the
songs.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Oh,
Yes.
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 The one I did for
Yeah, it was on your,
Yes, the one I
website.
did for my
Mhm.
daughter, Heart of My Heart. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. I wanna point out that you yeah, that's why I wanna point out your website, because there are some really wonderful songs on there that you wrote, and,
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to getting that Edge of the Hurricane when that comes out. Um, the album, once again, Katie Oates' brand new CD is called "We Go On: Sycon's Songs of Hope in Hard Times," and Katie's website is Katie Oates, KatieOates.com, where you can read about her. You can see some great videos of some of the music that she has written. And Katie, it's absolutely been a pleasure to have you on the show today. And I hope that um, when this pandemic is over with, and maybe you get out to the West Coast and start, doing some shows up between Seattle and Vancouver, British Columbia. We're about halfway on I-5. Would love to have you come by the studio, bring your guitar,
Oh,
and
Greg,
do some
I
songs
would
live.
love so
That'd be
much to
fun.
do that. My sister actually lives in Seattle, and I have a number of friends in that area. It's a beautiful part of the country, and I would be delighted to visit you there.
You're only 70
I
miles
know.
away, so
I
just come on
know.
out. Be fun. Why don't we go out with uh, our song here that is on this brand new album that really knocked my socks off, because it was not what I would call a folk song by any means.
That big old electric car, guitar just coming on
Yeah,
in there. I just
right.
blew it.
And but this is what would you describe this song as,
Oh,
Katie?
straight 12-bar blues. Well, although I had to modify it.
That's what I
Yeah,
thought
I
too.
took it
That's
straight
what I
from
thought
BB
too.
King, the master himself. I listened to Thrill Is Gone, and I adapted from Gabe's hip hop into 12-bar blues by BB King. Yeah.
Let's do on our way out the door, "Bury Me on Beale Street," and Katie, once again, thank you so very, very much for joining me, and best wishes on this new CD. I know it's going to be well received by everyone as much as it has been
Thank you
by
so
me.
much, Greg.